and help you pick the right stock at the right time.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Ask PQ on Bloomberg Wind. I am Shraddha Babla.
Hey Shraddha, and I'm Alex Matthew. Well, if you've got questions on equity, then this is the perfect show for you, as you know, and you can send those queries in to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-454-04141. Alternatively, you can mail us at askpq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the AskPQ hashtag. Now, before we launch into the show, though, we do want to address Biocon results. Biocon reported a strong set of earnings in the second quarter. The company's net profit stood at 355 crore rupees. That's a five-fold jump from the same quarter a year ago. Now, Bloomberg Quint's Nishant Sharma caught up with the chairman and the managing director of the company, Kiran Mazumdar, to talk about some of the key highlights of that quarter gone by.
So this was a very important quarter for us because we actually recognized the profit share income that we got from Mylan towards biosimilar pegfilgrastim, which, as you know, was launched last quarter by Mylan in the US market. And what you're seeing in terms of sequential delta is really a large contribution of this profit share, which actually went to the bottom line. So this is an indication of how high margin and rich the biologics business can be when it enters into the US and European markets. We are very encouraged by the performance this quarter, and we believe that we can sustain this business as we move into the future. Because I think it's not just about pegfilgrastim, but we also have the opportunity to play in the biosimilar trastuzumab market. Now it appears that we can actually be ready to prepare ourselves to commercialize in Europe, because we have got positive opinion from CHMP for both pegfilgrastim and trastuzumab, and we expect approval for both these products by the end of the year, which means that at least, if not by the end of this fiscal, at least from next fiscal, we will be able to capture revenues and profits from these molecules in Europe. And then, of course, we have an opportunity to get into the US market, hopefully with not only just pegfilgrastim and trastuzumab, but after the 30-month hold that will stop in 2020 March, we expect to enter the US market with glargine.
Also, what led to this strong growth in the small molecule segment as well?
So small molecules actually saw good traction in terms of both its API business, and of course we've entered the ANDA generics business with our statins, rosuvastatin and simvastatin, and I think that had a good entry because we had a good market share of between 15 to 20% in terms of both these molecules, and we have a pipeline of others to actually follow suit. But I think what has happened in the API business is that there are shortages created by the China impact. You know, in China, which was really competing with us very fiercely, there has been a huge environmental impact which has seen a large number of companies having to shut shop for some time. And that gives us a window of opportunity to play in this market and make sure that there's no further commoditization. In fact, we've seen a slight improvement in our pricing because of course, a depreciating rupee, but at least we feel that the prices have bottomed out. And going forward, I don't think China will be in a position to further commoditize some of these APIs, especially the immunosuppressants and statins, in which we have a dominant, play.
Right. And also, if you can give us more details about the one-time exception gain.
Yeah. So let me put this in context. You know, we have a novel asset by way of an anti-CD6 antibody, itolizumab, which, if you recall, we actually developed for the Indian market and have introduced it as alzumab for psoriasis. But then we realized that India was not going to be a market where we could create value from this asset. there is no recognition or acceptance for novel molecules in India. So we decided to license it to a biotech company in the US called Equilium, who are actually developing it for certain indications, graft versus host and asthma, which actually will add tremendous value if it is successful. Now, the way we did this deal was to take a stake in Equilium as well as to receive milestones and royalties upon commercial success. The company had to raise capital from the market. It just had a successful IPO last week,
Right.
in which it raised $65 million from listing on NASDAQ. And in preparation for this IPO, they underwent an valuation exercise. And once they went into a fair valuation exercise, we had to recognize that fair value because we had a stake in Equilium, which had to be recognized, and it's a non-cash, one-time, recognition of that fair value, which actually is that exceptional income.
All right. That was Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw talking about, or rather confident that the growth momentum will sustain going forward as well. The stock is trading about 0.4% lower at this point in time. With that, let me also tell you that the Indian benchmarks have seen a very smart recovery in the last half an hour or so. In fact, the Nifty has risen more than 100 points from the day's low when it had nearly touched the levels of 10,000. The lowest point was 10,004. It's back to 10,100 now. Similarly, Sensex is off the day's lows. We were seeing sharp cuts on the IT majors, HCL Tech, Infosys, TCS. So those continue to remain under pressure. But it's the auto and the PSU banking pack which is seeing some strength today. But as far as the broader markets are concerned, the Nifty mid-cap index has also erased all losses to turn positive. In fact, it's trading 0.8% higher right now. The small cap index is flattish, again having covered most of the morning losses. Amongst individual names, I do want to mention Raymond, which is the top Nifty 500 gainer, 12% advance, and that's the reaction that you're seeing to its Q2 numbers. Even Intellect Design Arena, it's the second straight day of gains, again earnings reaction. See it has rallied about 9%. This is the biggest move that the stock has seen in 3 months. Call options on this one have also tripled. We're also seeing some buying in Dish TV today, 9% higher on that one. But do pull up Equitas Holdings and Ujjivan Financial. Those have been battered down after the RBI refused any sort of a leeway or extension in timeline as far as listing the small finance bank subsidiaries are concerned. With a 28%, 30% rather now loss on Equitas. It's an all-time low, well below the IPO price. Same is the case with Ujjivan Financial, new low below IPO price, 21% taken off over there. So broadly, it's the holding company discount which is coming into play now. Huge volumes on both these counters also. Yes Bank is the other top loser, sub 180. 586 now. It had touched a low of 169 on an intraday basis today, but the advanced decline ratio has turned in favor of the gainers in the last few minutes, close to about 9:7 at this point in time.
All right. Well, with that, let's jump straight into introducing our experts of the day. Kunal Rambhia of the Streets is joining me in the studio. And we also have Sharmila Joshi, who is an independent investment advisor. They're both here to answer your questions this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start with the first question. I think a lot of people will be wondering about Yes Bank. In fact, Shraddha just mentioned it is off its day's low, which was around that 169 mark, currently trading around 186. Let's take a quick technical view on the stock, and I also want to get Sharmila in on whether she thinks that you should avoid this counter for the time being, because I think in the previous shows also we got a few queries on Yes Bank. For now, the technicals.
So, the end of September, the stock corrected significantly and made a low of around 165. Today's low is equal to the previous low itself, which is very near to the previous low. So, I'm expecting the stock to take a support at this level. Any chance the stock goes above 194, this bottom is confirmed, and expect the stock to recover to 240, 250 mark.
Okay. I also want to get a fundamental view from Sharmila. Still a few questions unanswered, especially with regard to the leadership. Would you avoid this counter for the time being and say, I just want to wait for some developments to understand where it's going?
Absolutely, because I think that the one thing that market doesn't like is uncertainty, and there is uncertainty still prevailing in terms of who the management is going to be, because they now really have a very short period of time to come up with a name. So we will hear from them, I think, very soon. But it still remains, that what is the name and, what kind of a stance will this new person take, and, what's the game plan for the period going ahead. And, I think in terms of numbers, there were some little misses in the numbers, but I think that really what is troubling the stock at this point in time is the lack of clarity to do with leadership. And I think, once we are over that, that would be the time to really enter the stock if you were to make a fresh purchase. But I think that said, definitely if you have the stock, you should stay put. But if you haven't got it, then I would think that you need to wait for a while.
All right, Sharmila, also on Equitas and Ujjivan, both have taken a knock of about 20 to 30%. At what point in time do you believe that they start looking attractive? Is that entire holding company discount, has that been priced in or not yet?
I think it's more or less been priced in, but perhaps maybe a little more, because the kind of mood markets are in. And it's a little unfortunate, especially from an Equitas point of view, because actually numbers were beginning to look very attractive. And they went through this phase where they were making the shift from being a microfinance company to a small bank, and overall how all their parameters were changing and how their ratios were improving. So it's a little unfortunate that, and they have lesser time to do this, this conversion and separation into a small bank than Ujjivan has. Ujjivan has a little bit more breathing space. But that said, I think that in terms of price action has been pretty severe, and precisely as you said, I think the holding company discount is almost in the price.
Okay, so that's the fundamental view. But Kunal, are the charts suggesting further weakness?
So, yes, Equitas fell significantly today itself. Now, this weakness may continue for a couple of days, but expect a pullback rally or say relief rally till around 110 in case of Equitas. And as far as Ujjivan Financial is concerned, again, expect the relief rally till around 225, 230 mark. But I'm not expecting this relief rally to start immediately. This weakness may continue for a couple of more days.
Okay.
All right, let's go straight to the live queries. A lot of you have written in. Thank you so much for joining us as always. I'm going to start with the first one on YouTube. Shiva Kumar is writing in. He's interested in the chemical space, but he's looking for a mid-cap company for the long term. Sharmila, he's asking whether you see any with good management that has potential to grow well over the long term.
Well, I think yes, chemical companies and within that pigment companies to my mind have been an interesting play. I think this is a really tough sort of a market to take a call on management quality and things like that, because we've had really things hitting us when it was sort of least expected. But that said, I think that the two companies that I could recommend at this point in time, which are both pigment companies, one would be Sudarshan Chemical and the other would be Make Money Organic. So I think these could be two good medium sort of mid-sized companies that you could take a look at.
Okay. Kunal, Debarpan Sarkar wants to know if it is advisable to make a fresh entry into HDFC AMC at the current levels. It's trading at about 1340.
So since mid of September, the stock is clearly in consolidation. On the higher side, say around 1450, and on the lower side, 1250 kind of range is made by the stock. I would wait for the stock to give a closing beyond say 1400. That would be the earliest entry level. Keeping then the stop loss of around 1300, one can start adding the stock. On the higher side, expect 1500. That's a short-term view on the counter.
All right, now we've got a question on Cadila Health, and this is in the context of the recent development that came in that Zydus and Cadila would jointly acquire Heinz India for 4,595 crore. From what I can see on the charts, this particular counter has hit its 52-week low at 330. It's bounced back slightly from that level. But in the context of the announcement, Sharmila, Chetan Thayil is holding 100 shares of Cadila that he's gotten an average price of 340. He's wondering if he should continue holding.
I think so, because I think that I think the Zydus Wellness deal is quite an attractive deal if you're looking at a slightly longer term picture for Zydus. And I think that even Cadila, the kind of valuations that it's trading at are fairly decent. So I think that it would really make sense to stay put.
Okay, Vinesh Kumar Soni wants to know what he should do with Jubilant Foodworks. His query is for you, Kunal. He's holding 50 shares at the average buy price of 1450. The stock is down to 1050. Is there further weakness? Should he be booking his profits? Losses, sorry.
You know, the stock actually fell below 200 days moving average, which is around 1200 levels. But fortunately, today the stock has recovered off the lows. And stock is, if at all, you know, by any chance the stock gives a closing near to high of the day, you know, hold the counter and expect the relief rally till around 1200 mark and revisit the counter at 1200. I'm not expecting the stock to recover to 1450 immediately, but yeah, 1200 can be expected in short span of time.
All right, Niketan Gowda has got a question on a counter that I think a few of our experts have expressed positivity on. Sharmila, I'm wondering if you think so as well. In the automotive ancillary space, Jamna Auto, he's acquired at 78.2. He's got 950 shares. It's currently trading a little below at 68, but he's got a long-term view. Should he keep holding?
Yes, I think so, you know, because I would agree. I think in terms of valuations, it looks fairly decent. And I think that you could look at a target of about 92, 95 on the stock. So yes, I think at this point in time, the stock is a hold.
Okay, Sharmila, you know, the question is if Ravi Shankar can accumulate shares of either Persistent Systems or Tata Elxsi at the current levels. He has a long-term view. Persistent, we understand, you know, they had disclosed exposure to some ILNFS in terms of their corporate deposits, but Tata Elxsi at this point in time?
Very honestly, I think, you know, both stocks I like. I mean, I don't know what view to take on the ILNFS exposure that Persistent had, but I think if you just look at the businesses that the stocks are in and the outlook going ahead, of course, I prefer Tata Elxsi between the two. Tata Elxsi also tends to be a little volatile, but you know, when you're talking of mid-cap stocks, you sort of need to get into a stock which has sort of a niche play. And I think Tata Elxsi fits that bill very nicely. So definitely yes for Tata Elxsi. Persistent System, maybe you could write this one out and see, you know, where this news flow takes you. But in terms of kind of earnings they've given and the kind of business that they're in, I'm definitely positive on that.
All right. Well, we've got Zinal Satra who's writing in asking on a view, Kunal, for a trade on Hikal, which is currently trading at 152 or thereabouts. Is there something that you can suggest?
You know, the stock made a low of this week, which is near to 140 mark. 138 to 140 is a strong support for the counter. Go along with the stop loss of around 138. On a shorter term basis, you expect the stock to reach 175, 180 mark.
All right, the next question is from Shankar Azmera, and Kunal, this is on Minda Corp. He wants to know if it makes sense to buy more, that is add at the current levels. He is currently trading at 110, his buy price is 148.
So now the stock straight away corrected from 220 mark to around 110 mark. But the best part of this stock right now is that it's near to 200 weeks moving average, which is at around 115. So by any chance, if the stock consolidates near the present price itself and recovers beyond 120, 125 mark, it would make sense to average and expect the stock to reach 160, 165 in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, Saurav Kumar is asking about GNA Axles that he bought at 450 for the long term. Sharmila, is this something that he should hold on to? It's currently trading significantly below. He's seen a loss. It's currently trading at 358 or thereabouts.
From a valuation perspective, it looks fine, and I think again in terms of numbers, it looks fine. So you know, we've seen a whole lot of mid-cap stocks where the pain really of this market is, and I think GNA Axles could be one of them. So I think if you have the stock, definitely hold it. This is not a market where I would recommend you know, averaging very strongly, because we are not really we're in a state of flux. We don't know which direction the overall market is going to take, and I think, you know, the stocks will move in line with that. So don't average, but definitely hold what you have.
Okay, you have Mayank Saraf who wants a view on paper stocks. Sharmila, what's your view on the paper sector overall, and any comments on individual names like West Coast Paper, JK Paper or International APPM? I believe International APPM numbers came yesterday and they were pretty good.
I'm very sorry, but I don't really particularly like this sector or really have any recommendations here.
Okay.
Okay. But on the charts, do you see anything interesting in the paper stocks?
You know, the best part of IPA PPM is the stock made a high of around 600 mark, and from there it corrected to around 400, and now it's in consolidation zone. I'm tracking this stock very closely. I'm waiting for the stock to break above 500 mark for more addition with the stop loss of around 475 and expecting the stock to reach again 600 mark.
Okay.
You know, speaking about averaging, Sharmila, you were talking about avoiding averaging. In fact, in that same breath or in that same line, we've got Tamobedi Surya, who's invested in Bandhan Bank, and perhaps a lot of retail investors have seen erosion in that particular counter. He's gotten at levels of 600. He's got only about 20 shares or thereabouts, so losses limited to that extent. But he's asking whether he should consider averaging, or should he just hold on and wait for some recovery?
Yes, that would be the broader advice, you know, because I think that even at the current price, Bandhan Bank is not exactly, I wouldn't really think it's cheap, you know, in that sense. And perhaps there was a little bit more of a fancy for the newer names, you know, given what was happening with private banking as a space. And then we've had this whole last 4-5 months where things have really gone awry for the larger names, you name it. I mean, you know, the kind of pain Yes Bank has been through. Or even I think, you know, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank. So they've really been through this Kotak Bank. You know, they've all had some or the other issues which have sort of played spoil sport for the entire sector. So I think now's not a great time to average, but I think you can definitely hold what you have.
Okay. The next question is from Mayank again, and this one is for you, Sharmila. He wants your view on Phillips Carbon. He wants to understand if the recent marginal correction in the crude oil prices could work in favor of the stock. Do you track Phillips Carbon?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, then I'm going to get a technical view, Kunal.
So on a technical front, this stock is consolidating near 200 days moving average, making cup and handle formation. The breakout would be about 230 mark, keeping the stop loss of 220 at that point of time. I would go long, and I'm expecting the stock to reach around 275.
But Mayank, just you know, bear in mind that a lot of people are wondering about crude oil prices, and there's no clear idea as to where it's heading. Too many moving factors there, so don't go by just a couple of days of correction. Anyway, let's take another query. In fact, let's see, you know, let's take something. Okay, we've already done Yes Bank. Rakesh Saini is asking about Yes Bank. We've got a question from Chiramjeev Sarkar about Century Ply. Is this a good time to enter the counter? Let's pull up the chart and see where it's trading right now in the intraday. It's just about 0.2% higher at 170.
Yeah, so you know, this counter again corrected from around 360 mark to around 145, 150. Stock is somewhat in consolidation for time being. If the stock continues to remain in the same range, you know, think of adding the stock beyond 200 mark, because that would be the breakout of consolidation on the higher side. Keeping the stop loss of 175, expect the stock to reach 265.
Okay, with that, we're going to launch into the rapid fire round. A request to both the guests to keep your answers very short. Sharmila, this one's for you, the long-term pick. If you had to choose between Asian Granito, Kajaria or Somani Ceramics?
I would say Kajaria.
Okay.
Okay, another question for you. Anant Kumar is asking for a 5-year plus view on Viatech Wabag that he bought at 542. Should he hold on? Sharmila?
Ashok Leland.
In a word, yes.
Okay, the next question is on Ashok Leland. So this one's for you, Kunal. Intraday targets.
So the stock, with the stop loss of around 105, expect the stock to reach 140.
Okay. We've got a question on First Source Solutions bought at 70 rupees. 1 year technical view is the call, is the ask.
So the stock is in consolidation, keeping the stop loss of 55. Expect the stock to reach around 75 again.
Okay. Next one also for you, Hindustan Copper. If somebody has bought at an average price of 62, what should they be doing?
Think of averaging at the breakout level of around 55. The stock is near to bottom itself. Bottom fishing, if at all has to be done, near 43 would be the ideal level.
Sharmila, would you enter, and we've asked this question several times, but would you enter into any of the graphite players? HEG is the question here.
Well, the numbers are good, but I think that at a time like this, you need to be a little cautious. So yes, I think maybe you can start buying, but I wouldn't put in my entire money at this point in time, very honestly.
Okay, Pankaj Joshi wants to ask, or is asking about the technicals for HUL and Asian Paints.
HUL near to 200 days moving average itself, breakout about 1600. The target can be around 1750. And Asian Paint has clearly broken all the support levels on the lower side. So I'm expecting the stock to give a relief rally till around 1240, not beyond that.
Okay, Sharmila, this one's for you. Any thoughts on Motilal Oswal? Would you recommend fresh entry into the stock after this near 40% correction that we've seen?
Well, this entire space has seen this kind of a correction, so I would really wait for a fresh entry. I think for most of the broking stocks, I think just hang in there and don't be in a hurry to invest.
Okay, one last, if I can slip one in, or Bank Nifty, we're asking for the levels that you should watch out for.
So on the spot level, I'm expecting the support of around 24,500. On the higher side, 25,000 as a resistance. This is a very short-term view. Clear buying about 25,500, and if at all someone wants to short, it would be below, say, 24,475.
Very quickly, Rakesh Saini, we've already taken a question on Yes Bank. We've done both a technical and a fundamental. In short, the answer is to hold on if you've invested and to wait for more developments. Don't average and don't enter fresh. That's the call on Yes Bank.
All right, those were as many queries as we could have taken, guys. We'd like to thank our guests. Thank you very much, Kunal and Sharmila, once again for helping our viewers with all their queries. But that's all on this edition of Ask PQ.
And in fact, for the rest of the week. So do join us back on Monday. We'll be back with Ask PQ. Remember, we're just a tweet, post or call away. So do keep your queries coming. We promise to address as many of them as possible on our show. You can also log on to the website bloombergquint.com and search for the hashtag AskPQ to get all answers to all of the questions that were discussed today. And you can also find a lot more on the website. So do stay tuned. Up next, in fact, is Power Lunch.